Welcome to Charmed Life, a radio show discussing spirituality, magic, and the unconditional love of the universe. Thanks for tuning in. And I'm your host, Tricia Carr. Thank you for being here with me today. We have a special broadcast. We're normally on Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific. And since we had a holiday, we are noon on Monday. Is this Labor Day? Yeah, okay. I can't remember. I get Labor and Memorial mixed up. And actually, today I have a special producer on my show. I have the wonderful Tony Sweet. Yeah, it's wonderful. we gave Jarvis the day off.
Thank you very much.
Ooh. Tony has some shows here on UBN because Tony is actually the proprietor of UBN. We're broadcasting live from the Universal Broadcasting Network studios in the Sunset Gower, iconic Hollywood, California studios. And Tony is, like I say, the proprietor of UBN, and he has a show on Fridays. At what time does it air? 4? 6? Both?
4 to 6
4
on
to
Fridays.
6. I got
and you've
it.
co-hosted with me many times.
I have. It's so wonderful. It's called Truth Be Told. It's really fun for folks that like my content, this kind of stuff that's intuitive. You know, we like to slip into the paranormal when in the intuitive world. I mean, it kind of all is. I like being para everything. You know, I've always been very para. I've always been the one who was like, oh, everyone else is doing it, and then it must not be for me. Like a little brat. But anyway, Truth Be Told is 4 to 6 on Fridays. That's 4 to 6 Pacific. And all kinds of topics of the paranormal and conspiracy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What are some recent shows that you've done?
Lately, it's been a lot about UFOs, which is great. And you and I've had some encounters with, people of more conspiracy theory, which is, from, was Hitler really a good guy or a bad guy?
We actually had that show.
Yeah, we kept looking at each other like, what?
Yeah, but we were trying to be very gracious because, he was invited as a guest on the show, so we didn't want to say, like,
you're crazy.
You're a jerk. We were like, is that really how it is? We were trying to be really, like, kind.
Yeah, we were. We were very nice.
I think
and
we
you
were nice.
Always do a great job.
Oh, thank you. I think we were nice, and but we wanted to be gracious, yet also be the voice of some people out there who maybe their feelings were hurt by the suggestions. Yeah. Anyway, the point is, but we also did a show about with a person who has a message of expanding your consciousness by connecting with higher vibrational ETs.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
And I'm real down with that because I actually connect with ETs who are high vibe. And I think they're really helpful. They have a heart, the high vibrational ETs and the many different constellations of our galaxy and beyond. And then the, parallel universes and timelines, they're interested in helping us to ascend. And so they're very helpful. And they just, we can really connect with them. So if this is blowing your mind piece, I want to let you know that is actually something that is available to you, just like connecting with angels and spirit guides. So anyway, thank you for being here with me today, Tony. And I'm really excited about my guest today. She is a spirit channel and intuitive wellness coach. Let me say that again. I'm stumbling over my face. Spirit channel and intuitive wellness coach. She's been on the show before, and her name is Lauren Antuofermo. Welcome, Lauren.
Hi, Tricia. Love being back here. Thank you.
So great. And thank you for joining me on a holiday and taking some time out from your family. I appreciate that.
No problem. Kids are having a lazy day. I've worked them all weekend, so very good.
That's good. Like when you take your dogs out to get them really tired. You do that with your kids too, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, like I said, Lauren is a spirit channel, so she channels all kind of high vibrational angels, spirit guides, also Pleiadian Council 9. Is that right, Lauren?
Yes. That's been interesting for me because it was usually just the archangel, types, the well-known archangels, and then all of a sudden I was tiling one day and they introduced themselves, so that was really cool.
Oh, so cool. I know we have a wonderful topic to talk about, but since for some reason like the ET stuff is showing itself in the show today, maybe because of Tony. What do you know about the Pleiadian Council 9, and what do folks who've never heard of that or being able to connect with the Pleiadian Council 9 or other ETs, what is your perspective and your experience?
Well, I've been told that they have that same kind of energetic signature of a high vibrational being, like an archangel. They would have that high signature, that level of high heart lightness. And they would always come through with the best information. And I say that jokingly, but it would always be from this perspective of complete acceptance, complete unending, like compassion and love. Like whenever I connect with them, it's just from that higher frequency where it doesn't matter where you are, you know that the energy is going to uplift you rather than like warn you or make you feel bad or say that you have to, you know, like the energy just makes you feel your wholeness. So that's how I know it's like that high vibration. And it's in that realm of, I mean, archangel realm where that's the purpose is to serve humanity to ascend and to feel their light and encompass that light in this life. And that's what their purpose is, really.
That's awesome. So do you have, obviously you have a connection with them, do you have some soul history, as in, you know, having existed as a Pleiadian? Is that something that you have been made aware?
I don't know for myself, like that's not something they have communicated to me, but when I've been to other intuitive artists and past life regressions and the Akashic record, I had my Akashic records read once, and they said that I do come from that serious energy. Right. And I think you do too as well, right? You have a serious connection?
Yes, and Lyran.
Lyran, yes. Lyran connection.
Yes. This is something that, just again, in my... You guys are wondering how we learn about this stuff. Yes, you could go to a practitioner, but we learn most of this stuff by just being in our meditative practice, just our own workspace, our personal workspace. Right, Lauren?
Yes. And to be honest with you, for those of you that are a little bit nervous, like ETs, what are you talking about? For the longest time, I think I was channeling them, but I didn't get that that's who they were because they knew I had this reservation about that, you know? Right. I was like, nope, unless it's angelic, I don't want to know nothing about it. And but getting that energy and feeling that that just wholeness, that compassion that they have, and that assistance of just really unending love, it just feels like that, then I feel pretty good about it. So I was like, okay, I'll channel you.
Right. All right then.
Yeah.
And they are benevolent. They are unified consciousness oriented. So they don't care if you identify them. It's almost like angels alike. If you identify that they're Pleiadian Council 9 or, you know, Archangel Michael, some people who are channels and mediums, they actually don't even identify whoever they are connecting with.
I was just going to say that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Please. No. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say that for the longest time, because I was very adamant. At some point there was this fear, like, you know, because it was like that in my life. Who am I talking to? Who is this? Why are you in my energy? Who are you? Identify yourself. You know, like I was very protective. And what my guys came through and said, you know, if we were to identify everything, you'd be too stuck on what it was and not the feeling and not the information. So once I learned to allow the information and the feeling kind of flow easily, that's when I was able to identify more with what the dominant energy is. Now, most often I channel the archangel realm can be channeled, just like, you know, I think you've channeled like energies like truth, the energy of truth, and the energy. Yeah. So it comes through as like a collective almost sometimes.
And the names of, whether it's their names or whether it's the category, like these are archangels or these are ETs or the specific being with the name, the only reason they even give us those markers or we connect with those markers is if it's helpful. So I know, like, for example, Abraham Hicks, the collective that she's channeling, they just gave her a name Abraham just to give her as a benchmark for her to tap in. But it is a collective, and it's probably infinite or ever changing, you know.
Yeah, I have them here right now, like wanting to speak.
Do it, get it.
So we ask you, as a frequency of divine light, to create the feeling of joy. What is connecting is the high validation of joy in the connection of Archangel Ariel. And so as a perspective and as a connection to you, we say, welcome. There's a beautiful alignment to communicate with you in this way. We say, we love you. We say, thank you and good day. We will communicate more. We say, thank you for your attention and good day.
Oh, so wonderful.
So that's the way it sounds if I channel. So if you hear that, that's...
Yes, it starts to come out in just a different cadence. And And it's very much like, and to allow others, if this is new to you, to allow others to be comfortable with it. My guidance when I actually was coming into all of this kind of work was I identify as a healing artist. It is just a creative flow. It is an artistic flow. And if you see an impassioned speaker or someone giving a sermon or even a person singing a song and they close their eyes and it's just flowing, it's really the same process. So it's not super weird and woo-woo. Maybe it's not something that has been as embraced as those other artistic expressions that we're so familiar with. But I know that we're really moving into that because this is now the intuitive age that we're moving into. I think you'll see more people being expressive in a channeling kind of way as Lauren is just demonstrating or allowing to be demonstrated through her, I guess.
I believe everybody channels, or they can get into that channeling state. That's why usually I'll speak about it or call it speech channeling. So it identifies a specific way to channel, but artists channel, musicians channel, we all channel in some way, shape, or form.
Right. It's just when an artist, my husband's a composer, and I told him once, I said, when we were trying to understand this, because I had this awakening, this opening late in life, and we had been together a while, and he's a writer. So I said, it's just like when you're sitting down and you need to write a melody, and you sit there and you clear your mind and you listen, and then a melody comes from nowhere. It's the same process. So it's not all that, it's not as super creepy as you guys, if you've wondered about it. And if you've wondered about it, it's because probably you have a calling on your heart to connect in that way that is consciously, aware. Would you agree, Lauren?
Yes. We get those little bugs, and if it doesn't go away, it gets a little louder, it gets a little louder, it gets a little louder. So, I stumbled upon it. I would have thought that if you would have told me 10 years ago, I would have called you crazy and ran the other way if you told me I'd be doing what I'm doing now. So but it slowly comes on, and then it's just one little thing at a time, and you ease into it. So
how did you stumble upon it? Tell me that story.
I went to a medium here, psychic medium, who said that I can do what she does and that I will be doing it professionally.
Wow.
And I said, that really? No, she's crazy. And then I started reading books on meditation and getting into that. I had dabbled in between, like in astrology before, and in a little bit of meditation, Eckhart Tolle, like a little bit of that stuff, but channeling and psychic information and mediumship kind of, that's something I could never do. But once you stumble upon it, you realize, you get your curiosity opens big time. And then once I connected, it just opened. One day I was meditating a lot, and all of a sudden this voice started like almost singing, like my throat was reverberating, and I just started singing. I'm going, okay, this is cool, but I'm freaked out. This is cool, but I'm freaked out.
That's the best kind.
So I went to somebody and they said, write first. So I started doing by writing. And then as I would do readings for people, it would come out as if like I wasn't even the one speaking, like the thoughts were coming and I wasn't even thinking about the thought before I was speaking. And then I just accepted to connect with higher energy. So as my vibration raised, I was able to connect with not just intuitive information that way, but archangels and such. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. And so Lauren is also an empath, and we both teach on empathic nature and how to be balanced with this. And I just love connecting with you on that because we both, let's tell the story about, you mentioned, or Pleading Council 9 mentioned Archangel Ariel while you were giving me a message. Let's talk. Do you want to tell a little bit of the story about our connection with Archangel Ariel, or yours, and then we can talk about how we discovered that together?
Well, yeah, it was around the same time, wasn't it, that we discovered it together? And
well, I actually connected with Ariel like kind of first, but yeah, and I'll go tell your.
No, you go ahead, because it was such a blur for me, because I remember that once we started talking, we were like, oh my God. And
I don't mean first before
we
Lauren.
found like all of these connections together.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. I don't mean first before Lauren. I mean first for me, early on in my development. very, very early on. I didn't know from Angel anything because, and I was reading a book on angels. Yeah.
Okay, no.
Yeah. And I think it was actually maybe Doreen Virtue's book or something like that. Or it could have been my friend Laura Power's book on angels. I'm not really sure. I was reading that it was the very first piece of the book, and the suggestion in the book, again, I don't remember if it's Laura or Doreen, she said, you can ask for your guardian angel's name. And so I said, okay, cool, put down the book. And I was like I said, they were about to talk about all of the archangels, but I didn't know, I hadn't gotten there yet. I put down the book and I said, who's my guardian angel? And I heard Ariel. And I was like the Little Mermaid? That doesn't sound very angelic.
That was my first thought too when it first came through. Like the Little Mermaid? No, can't be. Like I had no clue.
Really? So you didn't know Ariel either when you heard Ariel's name? You didn't know her as her? Oh, that's so cool. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. So when did that happen for you? It's so crazy. I know. We have so much overlap. So when did that happen for you? Tell me your story about meeting Ariel before you knew there was an Ariel.
That had to happen. So I had read about the archangels, but not really connected to anyone except the Raphael and Michael, which are the big ones, right? Yeah. And so, but I didn't connect the name right away because I just wouldn't have thought. It was during my channeling when I first began channeling and getting used to that. The name Ariel kept coming up, and I was like, "Is this somebody past? Is this somebody from my past life?" Like I had no idea. And Ariel, like the mermaid, and I was so confused. And so because I didn't connect with it right away, it kind of went back to the background. And then what started happening for me is lions everywhere, like ridiculous lion references between songs and pictures and lions everywhere. I can't even tell you until I finally saw that she's referred to as the Lioness of God. And then I was like, okay, it's Archangel Ariel. And, but honestly, until we spoke, I didn't realize that she was the head of my team, basically, until this past year, really. Yeah.
So cool. And so Ariel is, so when I put down the book and I was like, oh, Ariel, that's weird. That's a weird name for an angel. But by the way, this goes to show how ignorant I was. The EL is really common for an angel name because it means of God. So there's Michael, Raphael, Azrael, Zadkiel. They commonly have that EL, but that's again how I didn't realize. I didn't know that little tidbit that was a common way that we refer to angels. And so instead of picking the book back up, I first Google and Angel Ariel. I Googled and Little Mermaid came up first. And I was like, see? And then Archangel Ariel. And then I went forward and looked in the book and it said that she oversees nature and animals and particularly wild nature. And I was like blown away then because I was already practicing my animal communication and I've always been an, insane animal and nature person. So I was like, that's crazy. And I actually was in disbelief of it because the book I was reading too, or maybe something else, I quickly received information but archangels are not your guardian angels. So clearly I was wrong about even though, the name Ariel popped out of the sky, but somehow I'm wrong. So I rejected the fact that she's like a guardian or whatever that would mean because of the human perspective of they couldn't possibly be your guardian angel.
Yes. I think that's the reason why I kind of rejected or didn't acknowledge that for so long too. Because it was like, wake up.
Right. And then this is something that you and I both came upon when we were like, blah, 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 oh my gosh, I got this. I was communing with Ariel and she told me it's not just animals and nature that I oversee, and that isn't our only connection, but I am also the champion for, and I oversee highly empathic, highly sensitive people in this existence. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. And then she told you the same thing, independently, right?
Yes.
And that helped to put it in perspective for you because, like you said, you're not quite as you love animals and you have two beautiful puppy girls.
Yeah.
But you aren't necessarily as crazy as I am.
Being a Pisces, I'm supposed to be, but then I'm like, should I be? But I love animals. I just don't have that where, some people are like, I like animals better than people. I'm like, I'm not one of those people.
Yeah, one time you made me crack up because we were on some group chat or something, and I was like, "Oh, doggy, who has a doggy?" And you said, "Do you remember what you said?"
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's like, wait, no, what did I say? I poked fun at you for like,
Yeah,
oh my God.
You said, oh my gosh, Tricia, you are about animals the way I am about cake. I show up a party and I'm like, cake? Who said there's cake? Where's the cake? And I'm like, that's so me. And so you like cake more than animals, which is totally acceptable. I'm just kidding. Some of us need to like cake because cake is a beautiful thing too. I know I like cake as well.
Cake is good. It is.
Oh my gosh. Well, that kind of helps us to segue into what we wanted to talk about today, which was empaths and highly empathic folks. That Lauren says that releasing self-judgment is actually a really beautiful way, or a way to think about taking self-care, because as an intuitive wellness coach, this is self-care is something that is really on your heart and a primary part of your work. Yes. Yeah. So tell us about that, if you don't mind.
So what my true intention is, and whenever I work with anyone, it always comes to the energy of what they are coming from in fear about what they lack about themselves, always coming from a perspective that is kind of critical of themselves and saying, well, I have so much work to do. I have to do this. I have to do that. I'm not good enough up here. I'm not good enough there. I have to be stronger. I have to be better. I have to be better loving. I have to be connected to doing everything for everyone else except for me. Mm. And so when we do that, we're often judging every one of our emotional communications. Mm. Everything that's communicating to us comes through the emotional energy. And as empathic people, we have to encourage ourselves to pay attention to that energy that is accessing information. Because as people who learn the emotional guidance system, we often can do that for others. Mm. But what we do to ourselves is reject those emotional energies because it feels too overwhelming for us to feel them. Mm. But we're ignoring the message, which is why we have to increase like our emotional IQ. In other words, to be able to respond to those things without judgment allows you to care for yourself. Mm. Because what the emotional energy is trying to tell you is how to care for yourself. And when that emotional energy gets rejected for too long, guess what happens? Sickness comes out, something comes out that will be very overwhelming until the emotion is dressed. The emotion has a message for us. Mm. And when we can listen without judgment about that's wrong, I shouldn't have that emotion, I shouldn't feel this way, I shouldn't be doing this, or that person is wrong or bad, I shouldn't be around them. We're ignoring the intuitive message that comes along with our empathic gift, mm-hmm. which is interpretation of emotional energy. Mm. And when we forget that part and we only focus on the feeling and not wanting the feeling gets bigger.
Right.
Until we pay attention to the message.
Because what we resist persists. That is not just a rhyme. It is true.
It is true. Yeah. And so it's especially when it's a need of some type of emotional connection that we need to bring love to, bring light to, mm-hmm. bring connection to, bring awareness to. If we're ignoring it, it's going to get louder until we, like a child that wants your attention, and you can call that the inner, as my child laughs.
Was that Felicia? That's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, she loves you, by the way.
Oh, I love her.
Anyway, she, so the emotional intuition is spot on for others. But when we don't listen to that emotional connection for ourselves, that's where we begin to feel the empathic gift as an absorption of energy, or as a weakness or a vulnerability, rather than the powerful intuitive gift that it is.
Yes, because that is the common. You probably experienced this too. When I discovered this and being an empath, I am instantly identified with the victimhood of it. And, felt like I was just given a diagnosis. But I yes. But I actually was like, no, that can't be possible because I made this way. So I have to figure out how to get on the other side of this meaning the perspective, but not only the perspective, but the function.
Yes.
And it is a gift. It is like I love that you say that it's really, that we're supposed to be, or supposed, we need to stop saying supposed and should. Anytime we're shoulding on ourselves, know that is what we're talking about right now.
Yes. So it's in the higher expression of the mm-hmm. gift
yes.
that allows us to interpret the information. It's like a skill like anything else, you know, a talent that you develop over time. Even the person that has natural musical talent needs to learn the musical notes, needs to learn how to use the instruments. So there's that skill associated with the innate talent. And so there's no difficulty in understanding. It's not that the human being absorbs information. It's that they determine information from what they feel. And so if the feeling is not communicated in a way that makes sense, the feeling persists. And so that's why I feel like many empathic people call it absorption of energy.
Right.
But the inflammation of the energy is that it's not being released. It's there, it's there, it's there. And instead of just letting it go or connecting to what it means for you or deciding that it's not yours, it persists until there's some attentiveness to that.
Right. By the way, I should say we are taking calls. If you would like some intuitive guidance, 323-524-2599. Feel free to give us a ring. And you could get some guidance from Lauren Antuofermo. Yeah. And so, yes, that, you know what, I just realized that even just if you feel like you're absorbing, that is actually untrue. And it is a victim state. And it's okay. It's also okay. You don't have to judge yourself if you are at this time feeling like I am absorbing everything in this room. Judging yourself because you realize, oh my gosh, if I feel that way, then I'm being a victim. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible. I put myself. The first thing to do is always release self-judgment and have compassion for yourself. Would you agree?
I would agree. I think that many times that the awareness of that overwhelm comes from the perspective that we're not acknowledging something within us. And so, as you've said, when we connect to other people's emotional energy, there's something that's been triggered within us as well, because we don't expand in every emotion we see in people. I mean, sometimes we can just let it go just fine. But it's when something is really triggering for us and says there's this connection you got to bring awareness to, bring love to, that it doesn't go away. That's when it starts to begin feeling like a victimhood, that I can't get away from this emotion. I can't get away from it. I can't get away from it. And then I have to shut down my emotional connection. And that's where many empathic people go south, is because they begin to shut down their emotional connection rather than utilize the compassion that comes naturally to them for themselves. So I would agree very much. It's not that we're absorbing, it's that we're connecting. We see something, and when we don't validate it or we don't acknowledge it, it becomes our frequency.
Yeah.
And especially if it's something that triggers an emotion within us that seems very real, and we don't acknowledge it, and we say it's not mine, it's not important, it's not important. Well, that feeling will continue to raise every time you come across it, which makes us ultra sensitive to that particular emotion, because then it's an attraction then, right? Because if we've ignored it for too long, every time we see it in somebody else, it's going to trigger that within us again, and it's become ours. So there's an energy there that is asking us to pay attention. Why is it that this particular emotion keeps raising within us? For some people, it's grief. For some people, it's anger. For some people, it's frustration. Whatever the predominant emotion is that you feel as an empathic person, that would be the one thing that you might want to give some attention to without judgment, and then be able to kind of release that automatic connection to other people. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think that, you know, if a person may think like, well, how do I release the self-judgment? For me, I wonder if this makes sense, and tell me, Lauren, if this makes sense to you, or what you tell your clients. For me, if someone says, how do I release it and release self-judgment? To me, it feels like we actually almost identify ourselves as a duality. So we observe ourselves because we are the seer and the seen. So if we can take the seer position, which is the more expanded, the higher mind one or the higher heart one, then we can be almost objective because we are connected to the all from that perspective. And then we look at the seen with objectivity, rather than vibrating as the seen, the one who is seen, then we are depression. We are rejected, or whatever the emotional response is. How does that feel to you, Lauren?
That makes a lot of sense, because what happens when I'm finally further away from the actual in-depth feeling in it emotion, like you said, the scene, like for me, like, just saying that I'm in it. How do you get away from it when you're in it? How do you see the light when you're in the dark? Like, how do you get there? And it's the perspective that I often give clients, is that when you can just walk away for a moment, get clarity, or get kind of an introspective way, a curious way of asking yourself what's happening.
Curious,
rather than
that's good.
Rejection. The rejection of it compounds on itself, because you're rejecting yourself. You're rejecting your humanness. You're rejecting the ability to raise your vibration by accessing that light for whatever you're going through. So it's like the connection of a child who's hurting and who's harming themselves. Because do you ever see a child that will harm themselves when they're really, really angry or upset?
Yes, I've done that.
Their head. Yeah. It's that kind of emotion that at least the pain will escape, will get me away from this fear of this emotion. At least pain will stop the infiltration of this emotion. It's a distraction. So we've gone, so without the consciousness of light for ourselves, of love for ourselves, the arrow goes down towards pain to get away from the emotion. And when we can connect with the higher frequency that says, let me be curious about this, let me love myself through it, and you don't even have to have the answer in that moment, because what you've done is allowed yourself permission to feel and permission to love. And that, open to receive, that is the law of attraction. As soon as you become that awareness of allowing the light in, rather than rejecting and going downwards, the emotional spiral into pain and rejection, you go upwards into the feeling of relief, momentary relief, momentary compassion that says, I'm okay even in this feeling.
Yes.
I receive love even while I'm angry, even while I'm upset, even while I'm overwhelmed, even while I'm judging myself. I can receive the expanded view of my light. And as soon as you just give that one moment, you've taken yourself out of the rejection of yourself. And then life turns around for you, because it's not that you will have the answer, or maybe your archangel can't come through to you right then and there, your guidance system, but your son comes in and kisses you on the cheek and says, I love you, mommy.
Oh, yeah.
And that's happened as soon as I've allowed that energy. And instead of feeling guilt, like, oh, I should be a better mother, he shouldn't see me upset, he shouldn't do, like, I allow that to soften me. And then, like, literally the feeling dissipated, and I could stop the judgment and see where I was harming myself instead of loving myself. So in the one moment that you allow the light in, something happens to help you get even further.
Oh, yes. That is so beautiful. And I love that. I think that that is actually what you're saying. It's almost a technique when you're feeling that way. I think that when we're feeling that overwhelm, we're feeling some emotion that is difficult to feel. And we think that we're trying to avoid it, but it's when we're in that lower mind or that lower perspective of the scene, we feel like, well, I don't want to feel this. Why would I feel it more? I think it's a really great offering that you've just given to pop up into that non-judgment and the seer position. You could say, I'm curious about this feeling. It makes you disidentify with the feeling in a way, but still give it validation and start to give it compassion. So that's actually, I'm curious is a great way to start to shift out of that victim mode. Yes. I think that's beautiful.
Yes.
And I was thinking, and I've thought, I have had this awareness before, that as the empathic gift, you know, it doesn't require proximity, meaning like, yeah, sure, I could pick up what Tony is feeling, but I could also pick up what's going on in Syria. You know what I mean? Like, it's where we actually place our awareness. So it has nothing to do with space and time. Mm-hmm. And so it's all about us. Again, it's about, we're not absorbing, it's about where our awareness is going. And it could be our subconscious mind's awareness, but that's still a part of our consciousness. It's half of our consciousness. So if you think about it, all emotions are here at all times. So it kind of doesn't matter. You know what I mean? If it's shown up, it doesn't matter who it came from. If it's there, it's because you've selected to look at it right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you can use it as an oracle, and you can use your emotional body as an oracle, and then your physical body becomes an oracle, and that's part of your work as well. Using your body as the oracle. Would you like to explain about that a little bit?
Yes, I would love to, but I feel like I have a message come through. I feel like, would you like to, let's see what comes through.
No messages here, please.
The quiet awareness of your emotional energy is such a connection to the physical body that when you feel good, the body reacts to enjoyment instead of fear. When you feel good, the alignment of your body becomes objectified in the feeling of love for itself. So there's a considerate amount of judgment against the body, which then turns into emotional confusion. Well, I feel light. I feel my joy. I feel my compassion for myself. I feel my considerate amount of love in the world. I am a connection of light in the world. And so I believe myself to be that creator, that judgment-free energy of the world, but yet my body is in pain. And so what is the point of my body being fearful of others' judgment and being connected to pain in this life if I can feel all this joy for myself in spiritual, emotional energy? Why can't my body feel good? But the universe isn't a validation of just spiritual, emotional connection. It is a validation of the body being in of itself the spiritual connection. And so many people find it difficult to understand this connection because we say the body is a skin suit. It is a frequency of a costume we put on for this period of life. But it isn't. It is the validation of your compassion for yourself, meaning that as the higher form validates its connection to being in this body, in this time-space reality. It is the soul that considers the fact that a body will be the feeling of its home for this lifetime. And therefore the body is not animated by the soul energy. It is the soul energy. So as we create the feeling of knowing that the body is an extension of that source validation of our soul energy, we can create the understanding that physical life is not considered separate from the physical form. It is an awareness of your soul. Your incarnated evidence of consciousness and physical body is being viewed by your soul at this moment. Therefore, connected by that frequency, you are constantly in validation of your soul in physical form, meaning that there's no consciousness separate from you that could give you anything more than you can give yourself at this moment. So as the body becomes acknowledged as that second skin of something we shut down after a while to go back to our life as spiritual beings, we deny the physical form. We deny the experience of physical life, seeing this as only something to temporarily or reject in our lives, meaning that we can't wait to go back to heaven, and we can't wait to go back to spirit and leave this physical earth because it's so ridiculously low in abundance, and frustration is evident everywhere. It's the body that becomes the existence of your soul energy. Not the expression of it, but the body is your considerate amount of soul energy is within you, not outside of you looking down on you. And so when we deny the body as a frequency of spiritual form, as a second arm, so to speak, as a separate entity from your soul, we deny the physical light. And so the body does not incorporate the energy of the soul as much as it could, because we're not fully informing the body that it is an expression of soul and light energy as well. Does that make sense?
So much. Yes. And that brings me to a lot of folks in the community of going through a spiritual awakening and the ascension process. We talk about ascension symptoms. And that's what what I was feeling when you were giving that message, that the ascension symptom thing is similar to the empaths feeling victimized and absorbing and everything. The identifying, I'm having all the, do you see sometimes in these communities on Facebook where folks say, I've been going through, I've been having ascension symptoms and illness for 10 years now.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And that is when you've engaged the higher chakras, but you've not allowed them to fully infiltrate the physical form. And when that occurs, you could have higher awareness, but your body would not incorporate the physical information. And the body could not ascend past a certain point until you allowed the body to catch up. And so sometimes the awareness says, well, I'm going through spiritual downloads. I don't understand what they mean. I don't understand what I should be doing with them. Sometimes it's just your body adjusting to the frequency of your higher form. And it's not anything of information, but it's rather the body adjusting, hearing tones, adjusting to the physical vibration of life, seeing things, validating things through your frequency, knowing something's in your energetic view, or knowing the alignment of somebody, seeing their aura. These are the symptoms of ascension that are being fully integrated into your physical experience. So when you come back from the awareness of going, oh crap, what's going on? My body's harming me. My body's rejecting me. I have to change everything. I have to see to it that I do everything different, that the body is catching up with my spiritual information. But it is in a way, but also being rejected because the body is not being included. Therefore, the body is seen as separate from the spiritual light. And therefore, the body isn't always in alignment with the spiritual energy. Therefore, the body takes time longer to heal, longer to catch up, longer to assimilate all of the energy that you are infiltrating through your upper chakras and not integrating into the lower chakras.
That's right.
You're infiltrating and then not expanding into the lower chakras, not integrating it into your physical life.
And so how does one get out of that loop? If someone is, and I don't mean to condescend or anything to folks that have the experience of having ascension symptoms for extended amount of time, that to me is then if they're not allowing the higher chakra energy to integrate all the way into the body, how do they get out of that loop? How do we? The
experience, I'm sorry.
That's it. No, that's it. I was just
the experience of humanity who has raised in vibration often denies the physical life as a physical being. So in other words, many spiritual practitioners forget to have fun. They forget that the physical body is allowed to experience pleasure, that people can do what they want with their physical form and still feel good within it, that they don't have to reject physical pleasure because it seems so unspiritual like. The energy of having a drink of wine in the evenings or the frequency of having a piece of cake could be seen as hostile to the person who wants to spiritually align, but you've denied the body its physical pleasures in this life. It's when we see all of that as negative, as hostile to ourselves, that the body then becomes more and more rejected, and only the spiritual alignment is connected and not the physical life of aligning with spiritual form and physical form. So when people feel good, right, they feel like celebrating, they feel like socializing, they feel like abundance, they feel like life is a party, and they enjoy their physical life and very happily align to spiritual information. But when spiritual beings start the journey of awakening, they often dedicate their entire life to awakening without incorporating the physical light of their lives. So they concentrate on the information and the frequency of intuition, but they forget the body's connection, which is physical endurance, vitality, happiness, enjoyment, communication, in understanding we are physical beings that have physical needs, sexual needs, friendship needs, partnership needs. All of these needs are physical aspects of the spiritual life as a physical being, right? So we disconnect from the body and focus purposely on the intuitive and the spiritual energy without existing in the body. We become hostile towards anything physical, and the body begins to break down.
Yes.
And so when we don't see life as a positive aspect, we see life as something dreadful, something to get through, something that only gives pain to give lessons, then we are rejecting the spiritual form in its purest light, which is physical life.
Yes, that is the what we are doing here is being physical. That is our spiritual endeavor. And another thing that comes up is the folks that, you know, they're, oh, I'm a starseed and I can't wait to go home.
Yes. And I think that's why I haven't like concentrated so much on that, because I've seen in that community the rejection of their life now.
Yes.
And it makes me sad, actually.
It is sad. Yeah. It is unfortunate. You know what is really beautiful in the messages that have been coming through is, for me, like you said, having a glass of wine. I haven't denied myself a glass of wine. That isn't my challenge. No, my challenge has actually been to very much what you're saying about, you know, focusing on that spiritual energy and actually the mental energy then too. The non-physical, because the spiritual, the intuitive comes through, and then we translate it into the mental, which is beautiful. And then we forget about the body. We are a mind, body, spirit complex. Yes. And so for me, I've actually been denying myself something that I love so much, which is exercise. It's play, because I've always been very athletic, and I had a couple of injuries this past year that, well, when you have an injury, you know, bust your knee, then you can't go running. But what it had started before, obviously busting the knee, that you know, I had been not denying myself that play because I'm spending so much time on the spirit and the mental. And actually, someone who is in the Lightworkers Lab, which is the community of which Lauren and I are both moderators and teachers, Lightworkers Lab, you should go check it out on Facebook, join our community, and founded by Crystal Ann Compton, I should say. And someone in the, I did an animal communication class in the lab, and someone took the class, and at the end, hi, Felicia. At the end, I was showing pictures of my cats and asking folks to practice giving readings. And so she messaged me later, and she did that even though she did it, you know, almost a year later, but still brought a message through one of my kitties, through Barnabas. And Barnabas said that I haven't been playing enough and that I work too much, meaning I sit there with the spiritual and the mental, and I haven't been playing enough. And of course, from the cat's perspective, playing is exercising and jumping and chasing toys and everything. And he's so right. Wow. And that's the message you're giving today too.
Yes, it's so true. And I forget too, you know, and being, you know, my career as a health and wellness professional and exercise physiologist, I exercised for years. It was my passion. And this past year, going through all kinds of upgrades and a lot of shame issues coming up for me. I gained a lot of weight, which is, for a health professional that's, you know, based in exercise physiology and thinness being the hallmark of health, which it isn't. That's a whole other show.
Right, exactly. We'll talk about that someday.
Yeah. But that really came up for me this year. And I had to deal with the connection of where I was denying my love for myself in spite of my body, like judging my body at every moment, worrying about how other people were going to judge me. Oh, she's not 0% body fat. Wow, she can't be a good exercise physiologist. She can't be a good mentor in health and fitness if she's not really thin. So that was my judgment against myself, which of course caused injuries so that I couldn't exercise, then caused my body to react in all kinds of ways. I didn't change the way I was eating, yet I was gaining weight like ridiculously. And it's over these past couple of months that it's finally kind of releasing, because I've given myself that attentiveness of knowing I like to exercise. I don't have to.
Yeah.
It's not going to like make me blow up out of nowhere if I miss a day of exercise. So exercise became a need rather than a joy, and it backfired. So as soon as I got back to the love of that, it becomes more enjoyable and much more, I don't know, effective, easier even.
Oh yeah.
Like easier. Like the endurance that I have when I'm enjoying my exercises is profoundly different than when I'm doing it out of hostility towards myself.
Sure.
Because I need to do it in order to be skinny.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's such a difference, and that's why the mind-body connection cannot be denied, because it's one cause and effect, really. Yeah.
Right. The mind, the spirit is the causal plane, and the body is the effect plane. And
If
then
that is
is that Dee Dee?
that's Dee Dee.
Oh, Dee Dee's is so cute. I had the pleasure of connecting with Lauren's puppies not too long ago. Well, we are almost out of time. But
I could talk to you forever.
I know, exactly. We just keep it running. Tony, we're just going to be here all night. Okay, you can go home. And so before we sign off here, why don't you let folks know how they can get in touch with you, or if you want to talk about some of the work that you've been doing lately, let everyone know how they can benefit from your immense wisdom and guidance.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, so you can go to my website. It's called soulfultransformations.com. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on YouTube, where I've done a lot of talks and vlogging about this, and where the mind, body, and spirit really can be integrated with a non-judgment point of view. Then we serve the self, and then really are able to serve others in a passionate way, in a way that makes us validate not only our own experience, but the experience of others, so that when we love ourselves, we are the example of how to love others and how others can love themselves. So it's really about time that we understood that there's no fear in being human. There's no hostility we have to face because of our lack. We are here for the human experience. And so intuitively, physically, spiritually, and mentally is where I work with my clients, connecting them how to connect with their higher selves, and also validate that experience through their bodies. I also do some mediumship for friends that for friends and family, and anyone that chooses. I'm a psychic medium, so I do that as well. That's always loving. It's just a positive experience. But my work with clients and coaching them and connecting with them is on that soul level, raising their vibration, connecting with their soul team, and then attuning them to a higher frequency. So that's how I work with my one-on-one clients.
That's beautiful. And we actually do have calls. I didn't realize that we had calls. If you don't
cool.
mind hanging out for just a little bit longer, let's take a caller or two. Hello, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hi, this is Sherry.
Hi, Sherry.
Hi, Sherry.
Hi. Hey, I was calling one time before, and it's been a while ago. I called in, and I was told that I had a gift.
Okay.
And I was more curious about what kind of gift I might have.
Okay, great. Lauren, are you picking some guidance for Sherry?
Right away, I went to the mediumship thing, because I feel like you have like a direct, no-nonsense connection that allows you to get reception easily, because you can intuit the information pretty directly if you wanted to. It can be spiritual energy, guidance that you connect with, but it also can be spirit guides and past loved ones, spirits of past loved ones. There seems to be this connection to you that's always direct. So you don't even have to try very hard if you wanted to. There's this direct connection that you understand to be very forthright. Like you don't play, the feeling that I'm getting about you is that you don't play games very often. You give it as you see it.
Oh, no, I don't. I'm pretty serious most of the time, but I always feel like I have this beast within me that is just wanting to come out. I don't know. It's hard to describe.
I think
like something wild that I'm afraid to release.
No, I think that you have to embrace that part of you. And that's when the beast will lie down. If you embrace the fact that you are very connected, and that you can be direct, but in a way that makes people be connected to the message rather than feel criticized. Meaning that some people need it direct. Some people do like that directness, and you have that within you to give it direct without feeling like you're putting somebody down. Many times I haven't gotten a message until it was directly given to me, and I can say, okay, no, got it. But it was still done in a loving way. It was still done in a way that made me see myself and not like the judgment behind that. And if you can accept that that is who you are, that you can be who you are, you can be that direct, you can call it as you see it. And it doesn't have to come off because you're afraid of being judged or afraid of letting out, anger. But as soon as you can accept that part of yourself, that beast, as you call it, will lay down and just be embraced. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. Because I feel like I'm always trying to control what I say to people. I don't want to hurt their feelings. Maybe that's part of it. Because I feel like sometimes I can be a little too direct with some people. And they take it the wrong way. You know what I mean?
No, I get it. I think that if you can accept that that's just how you are, and it doesn't have to be insulting or come off that way, then the ease of your communication in that direct way will become very just happy for you, because you get to be expressive in the way you naturally are without feeling judged or judging the way you say things. So it might take some time for you to kind of figure out that way to flow with it rather than be explosive about it, because you've denied it for so long. But you're directly connected, meaning because you get it, if you just put a little effort into kind of getting the information, it'll be like, no nonsense. There, boom, I have the information, here it is. And you can get very detailed information. I get my information comes from a very feeling perspective, I can get very, detailed information, but it's not the basis of what I do. I feel like you can get like right on the spot, give me a date. I know the date. This is when that will happen. Or this is when that happened. You can be that specific. So go for it.
Oh, wow, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Go for it.
That would be wonderful. If I could, I'll have to work on this and see if I can get it to move in the direction I want it to.
Yeah.
No, go for it.
I think starting with that, releasing judgment, is going to help you because that's probably the big stick in it, is that you're judging yourself about it. And that's what is actually uncomfortable. Lauren, what Lauren is describing, when you first started talking before this last bit, I had written down claircognizance. And claircognizance is actually the most efficient clair, because you just know it then. Whereas like Lauren and I are very clairsentient dominant. We actually have the feeling, then we have to translate it into a knowing. So it's not quite as efficient.
Oh.
Yeah, or even people are always, clairvoyance seems to be the most famous clair, because you have a clear seeing. But when you see something, even if it's in your mind's eye, you have to translate it into a meaning that we can communicate. Claircognizance is you have the knowing of it and it's ready to be communicated. So you have your dominant clair is the most efficient one. Does that make sense?
Well, I always thought it. Yeah, to me it sounds fast. I can see how it works, and with my job I do.
Perfect.
Like on repairing something, I can look at it and I immediately know, well, we need to put this on it, that on it, and that on it to fix it. You know what I mean?
You're always saying, like, I knew it, I knew
municipals.
that, I could have told her that, or I did tell her that, she didn't listen.
Sometimes, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was saying, like, I bet you're always going, I knew that. I told her that. She didn't listen to me. I could have told her that. I knew that. I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going on. I knew that. Like, do you get that a lot? Like, oh, I knew that. I could have told her.
Oh, I do. And I don't say anything because I feel like I would, hey, they at least tried, But my phone is starting to die.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I really appreciate that, because it does put it into a little more clarity for me. I've been curious this whole time what it was, and it feels positive. I mean, instead of being afraid of it, I don't need to be afraid of it anymore.
No, you're using it already.
You're doing it.
Yeah, you're already doing it. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's no fearful transition you're going to make. You're already doing it. So you're just releasing the fear.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome, Sherry. Thanks for calling in.
That way you can get another caller in before my phone dies.
Okay, sweetheart. Thank you so much.
Oh, she's so cute.
Do we have time to take one more, Tony? Okay. All right, cool. Great. We'll take another call then if you don't mind, Lauren.
Cool.
Hi, you're on the air. Who's this? Hello?
Ooh. Oh, hi. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Hi. Who is this?
Well, I didn't know I was going to get through. Hello. My name is Elizabeth Rodriguez. I was waiting. I was looking through my computer. I didn't know you were talking to me. I apologize.
Oh, that's all right. What's going on today, Elizabeth?
I don't know if you can do a reading for my animal or for someone that has passed, but my mom passed away in 1987 when I was 14 years old, and I just want to know if she's okay because I have a hard time dreaming about her, and sometimes when I dream about her, I cannot see her visually. I cannot see her face for some reason.
Lauren, are you picking up something for Elizabeth?
The only thing that I'm getting right now, because right away I got the message that this would be for you. You can pick up more details. But the only thing that I want to help you with is seeing past the fear of connecting with her and receiving the love that she has for you, because there's a deep rejection or feeling of her energy because you're either afraid of it or worried that you won't get it right or worried that she's not being proud of you. Like there's a lot of fear about what she would say to you or want to say to you or think about you. There's something that's preventing you from accepting her in love. And she wants you to know that she's very, very connected to you. You see her in your daily life almost. Like there's a connection that you say, oh, that had to be my mama. There's a feeling that you understand that she's there, but you want this kind of direct energy. And she's saying, I am there. Open up your heart and not just, your mind. Don't feel like you can't talk to me. Don't feel like you can't connect with me. And she wants you to put your burden down. Put your burden down. There's a burden you have on yourself that she's asking you to put the burden down and live for yourself. I don't know what that burden is for you, but it feels like you're carrying this emotional weight of guilt about something that she's asking you to put down because there's nothing for you to feel bad about. But I'm going to connect this over to Tricia now because I feel like she might get some more detailed. I'm seeing your mom is a very sweet woman, but I'm going to head. Tricia, you got this?
I do, sure, yeah. Elizabeth, are you connecting, are you conscious of how you connect with her in flowers? You see flowers and you think of your mother? Is this something you've been experiencing?
Yes, I sometimes sense something in my room. Like I sometimes sense her in my room, but I don't know if it's her. Like and it's true, the fact that sometimes in that dream that I had with her, I was afraid. Mm-hmm. When I woke up, I had a little fear, afraid of even looking at her. So I understand what she was saying about that. Maybe I'm afraid to even open up to her, but I just don't know how to allow myself to accept her.
Well, your question was, is she okay? She is absolutely okay. And she says, I'm still your mother, and I'm even more okay than I was when I was with you in the physical body. So you can release that. Is she okay? And that is part of this. There's some fear. It's just like this gossamer veil between you and her because of some fear. And the fear is about social conditioning, actually, about whether it's okay or safe or whatever, regarding the spirit realm and all of that kind of stuff. That is so infinitesimally small compared to your love with your mother. And just know that when you connect, when you feel her love in your heart, that is connection. And she is there. She's holding you in her arms at that time. You're seamlessly connected to her. And when you feel her in your dream, that all you have to do is imagine that she's holding you, and she is holding you, and she's stroking your hair, and she puts a flower in your hair, and she says, "You are my darling little lady. You are my." Is that something she called you, my little lady? Something about my little lady just came through, and but you two are
in
connected.
Spanish. My mother spoke Spanish. Mi niña, I guess.
Mi niña. Well, you are connecting with her, and like I say, she's sending you signs in flowers. Is she had a favorite flower that you're aware of? And I see there's a red color and there's a white color, and that you can smell their aroma and think of her, and you can think of mommy, what you called her, and then you are together, and you're never apart. And can you feel that love in your heart between the two of you? That's perfect, and it's perfect, right? There's nothing to fear there.
Yeah,
that's perfect. That is your connection, and she can talk to you all the time and still mother you and give you the olive. And she's never left you. She's never left your side.
Thank you,
Lauren. Go ahead.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome, Lauren. What were you going to say?
Was she a small lady, like little frame?
Yes, my mother was small. She was like 4'11".
Okay, because and she showed me it's very small, and she showed me like in the doorway, like she's constantly like in the doorway, like sleeping next to you or watching over you. There's a doorway, and also telling me that in the kitchen, she's in the kitchen with you. So do you have children of your own?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. If I have a kitchen?
Yeah, but I showed her in the kitchen. Do you have children of your own? Because
I have a 21-year-old.
Okay.
I have a son. Mm-hmm.
She's showing me that she's in the kitchen a lot with you. So I don't know if you're cooking or you make something of hers that was a recipe of hers or that she used to make, or you're trying to keep like I'm sorry, are you Puerto Rican?
No, I'm Dominican.
Okay.
My husband's Puerto Rican.
Because, she's just showing me like a traditional dish and that you would make, or that she's in the kitchen with you, or make it, do something like in the kitchen. So she keeps drawing me back to the kitchen. I don't know what that means, but you might understand that there's something in the kitchen that is very connected to her, and you have it of hers, or there's a tradition in the kitchen that you do of hers. So whatever that is, she's acknowledging that. And again, this small lady, like just in the doorway, being with you, there with you. Don't feel upset. I don't know if there's a judgment. Again, like if there's fear there of how she would view you or be connected to you, or feel like you shouldn't be connecting to her in this way, don't feel like you can't connect with her. Because I know that, well, I'm Italian, grew up very Italian, and grew up I say Puerto Rican, but I just know that the culture is very similar, and so there's a lot of like what's the word I'm looking for, Trish?
The fear and the judgment and all of that about being right. Is that what you're talking about? That because I was feeling there was.
Can I share something about my mom's past?
Sure.
My brother was killed.
Oh,
my brother was killed. At the age of 21, and 17 days later, my mother passed away. And I was the one that took her to the hospital, and she died in my godmother's arms. We didn't get there on time. And when she passed away, I felt anger towards her because I thought that she left me. I was 14 years old. My brother was 21. I thought that she loved him more because she had left me. My mom was a sick woman. She used to suffer from asthma, and I felt that she didn't love me enough to stay with me. And I think maybe that is one of the judgments that I have that I've been carrying on in my life ever since she passed.
Okay, so that's what that heaviness is, and that's why she's you can't see her in your dreams because you're not accepting the love she has for you. So she wants you to understand that point of view and see yourself as lovable and loved by her. It's hard to describe why we leave the earth when we do, and it's not even something for us to understand as human beings, because it would kind of like diminish our feelings. But she wants you to understand that it has nothing to do with that, and that the experience you had, that's the burden that you're carrying around, this kind of feeling of guilt and hostility and worry that you're not worthy enough. And that's what's she's really coming through with, and that's what we started this reading with. And so I'm glad that you shared that, because that connection is what's keeping you from living a life that's open to more love and more light in your life. So she wants you to kind of breathe into the knowing that you are deserving, that you are loving, that you are just as deserving as anyone on earth. As a matter of fact, you work very hard. You've worked very hard. You're a very determined woman. So she wants you to give yourself some credit and lay down the feeling like everything has to be so hard. You are worthy of getting what you need, and you are worthy of having assistance, and she's there to help you. So open up your heart to her and the love she has for you, and you will see how that infiltrates your everyday life, and you'll put down some of that burden and that fear that you have about life being rejection of you, and be more accepting of you.
Oh, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I needed to hear something like that.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Good.
Well,
You're
thank you
welcome.
so much for calling in. Thank you for sharing your story, and bless you, your son, your husband, and your family. And just know that the love is the only thing that is eternal. The judgment of a 14-year-old, oh my goodness, that's so in the past. It so doesn't exist anymore. All right.
I know. Thank you so much, and thank you for picking up the phone call. I didn't expect that.
Oh, good. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, honey. All right. Well, now we are definitely out of time. We are over time. Tony let us go long.
Thank you, Tony.
All right.
That's
again,
because his last name is Sweet.
No, he is sweet. He's Tony Sweet. So, Lauren, tell everyone again your website address and.
Okay, so I am an intuitive spirit channel. I can connect with your past loved ones, and I also do coaching called the Powerful Empath, and the Body of Love coaching, which helps you connect to your body as a physical and spiritual being. You can connect with me at my website, which is www.soulfultransformations.com. And you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram.
Well, thank you again for being here with us today, Lauren Antuofermo. Wonderful guidance, wonderful wisdom. And
thank you, Tricia. Thank you so much.
I hope you'll come back again real soon. And so that's our show today. Thank you for joining me on Charmed Life. I will see you next week at 11 a.m. Pacific on Sunday. And thank you for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.